Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're filming my September eyeshadow palette ranking video. So if you guys are interested in seeing how this month's rankings went, then just keep watching. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome. My name is KARENHARRIS. I like to post tan girl friendly makeup videos here on YouTube. So every month I sit down and I rank all the eyeshadow palettes I tried out in the previous month. Most of them are new eyeshadow palettes, but every once in a while I will go back and grab an older palette in my collection just to keep things interesting. So if you guys like that type of video, if you like to see new makeup releases 3 to 4 times a week, this is the place for you. Highly recommend subscribing, turning on that bell so you're notified every time I post. And without further blabbering, let's get into it. If you are wondering about what is on my face today, I will go ahead and link everything I can down in the description box for you guys. I did film this look, so if I'm able to, I will go ahead and post the link to the tutorial for you guys to check out. But we have 16 eyeshadow palettes to rank. So let's stop dilly-dallying and let's get into it. Okay, I put post-it notes on everything this time so I wouldn't screw this up like I did the last time. So in 16th place, you guys already saw, I'm ranking the Melt palettes. Listen, these are nothing short of disappointing to me in pretty much every way. I only bought 2 of them. There's 2 other palettes. I believe there's Fire and Water. And I couldn't justify getting Fire because I'm about to show you guys an amazing fiery palette closer to the top of these rankings. And the blue one, the water one, just reminded me of their Blueprint eyeshadow palette, which I have and I love. So why do I need another blue palette like that? So I did grab Earth and I did grab Air, which is the purple one. I will say this one is interesting, but I think this one is more like my vibes. But Melt already has so many palettes with grungy greens in them. So overall, I'm just very, very disappointed compared to their last holiday collection, compared to their previous holiday collections that they've done in the past. This one was just such a disappointment. And then the way they did this like pre-launch app exclusive thing on Sephora, and then they were doing like a full launch on the Melt website, but all they were adding to the collection were like a lippy and a makeup bag, and I'm like, this cannot be it for Melt this year. I don't know. I would love to hear from you guys if you think they're gonna launch something else. Personally, this is the time of year where they do their holiday launches, and their Halloween launches tend to be their holiday launch, so I feel like this is all we're gonna get from Melt this year, and yeah, these ones I definitely could have passed on. In 15th place is another brand that I usually love, but this one was such a miss for me. This is the Ace Beaute Violet Sage palette. This is currently sold out on the Ace Beaute website, so I'm not sure if this was like a exclusive thing that they just launched and they're not planning on bringing it back. Personally, I didn't love this color story. It's definitely more muted than what I'm into, even for like every day where I'm usually into something a little bit more interesting than this. But I felt like a lot of you were interested in this palette, so I did grab it for review purposes. And overall, I just wasn't very impressed with the formula. And I compared it to the Paletopoly palette, and that palette for me is so nice. So this one I was just a little bit disappointed in, and that's why I'm ranking it towards the bottom of this video. Okay, in 14th place, let's go ahead and roast BH Cosmetics. No, I'm just kidding. These are not bad. I think they could have worked a little bit harder on the color stories. Some are definitely more interesting than others. This Malibu one just did not make sense to me. I was like, did that need to be in existence? This Egypt palette. The other thing too with these is you can buy a perfectly good palette from BH with a lot more shades on sale that has more than 4 shades. So it just didn't really make a whole lot of sense for me. And it's not the great BH formula that I'm used to. So overall, I was pretty disappointed in this little collection where they came back after being bought by Revolution. So yep, that's putting them at number 14. Okay, it's basically indie brands from here on up, and So I did the best I could. I really tried to follow my instinct, my gut. If you love these palettes, if this is your #1 palette, you guys know that I'm not trying to like hurt anyone's feelings with these videos. It's really hard for me to do rankings because I love a lot of these brands. I think they make quality products, but I gotta do what I gotta do. So in 13th place, I am ranking the Mattes palette. And I feel like if you guys know me, you probably know why this is ranking at number 13. This formula is absolutely stunning, but I'm just not a big matte eyeshadow wearer. Like, I don't wear matte eyeshadows on their own all the time. Every once in a while, yes, but even if I was to do an all matte look, I'm probably not going to reach for just a mostly purple palette. So that's why I'm ranking it in the 13th spot. I also think this palette could have used an even dark purple, or maybe a black. A black could have probably really helped deepen this up a little bit more. I love the idea of this palette. I just don't know how much use I would get out of it. So if you're a purple lover, this has an amazing formula. SugarDrizzle did so good with this palette. So yeah, I'm not ranking it low because of quality or anything. It's simply because I don't wear matte eyeshadows on their own as much. Okay, in 12th place, this one is, I think, the most expensive palette I have in this video, and probably the most expensive palette I've had for a while, other than the Pat McGrath palettes, of course. But this is the Janessa Myrick's Lightworks 4 palette, and I'm so happy she's continuing this series. But like I've mentioned a few times, this middle row for me is a complete bust. These two shades are like supposed to be kind of like the Jelly Much shadow texture from Colourpop, and they already are feeling kind of dry. These two are supposed to be cake liners, and I just have the hardest time getting them to pick up on a brush. So this middle row for me, like, didn't need to be here. The powder shadows are so stunning. Amazing shifts. Highly recommend checking out that video if you guys are interested in this palette. I know the Sephora sale is coming up, so maybe you want to grab this during the sale. I would say grab it during the sale. I definitely used a $100 reward on this, so I only paid $25 for that palette, but it's still, like, my point still cost me money, like, you know, so yeah, it kind of hurt a little bit, that middle row. In 11th place is the ABH Rose Metals palette, and this one is in 11th place because I had mentioned it in my haul video as well. I just feel like this palette is almost there as far as like being smoky. It's a very beautiful. The pigmentation, the quality of the shadows is chef's kiss, but I think this palette is just missing a black shade to help deepen up some of these gorgeous metallics, and also it could probably use an inner corner highlight. I can use this one, but I feel like something just a little bit brighter would have been ideal. But yeah, overall I think this is a very mid-tone palette, and I don't know that if you're really into like a really smoky outer corner that you're gonna like that, but I can also see this being like everybody's go-to glam palette for the holiday season. Okay, in 10th place is a indie brand, and this is a older palette, but I did receive this in PR. This is the Bloom palette from OPV. This is such a fun, colorful fall palette if you guys are interested. I know OPV is I think they're a UK-based indie brand, so if you guys are living outside of the US, maybe you want to check this palette out. I had so much fun playing with this, created such a beautiful look with this palette, and yeah, overall I'm very impressed with this product. Okay, in 9th place, it was so hard to rank these, you guys. I'm gonna pick Teresa is Lethal. So this is her round 2 collaboration with Lethal Cosmetics. I think this is such a fun color story, definitely very Teresa. I really enjoyed this palette. I just have some other palettes that I enjoy more, so I had to rank them. I love you, Teresa. This is a beautiful palette, and I had a lot of fun playing with this. Okay, in 8th place, we have from Kaleidos There are 2 palettes that launch with the Night of Creation. These are so pretty. I love the formulas. The reason I'm ranking these a little bit lower is because they're purple quads, and one's a cool tone, one's a warm tone. If these were green quads, I'm pretty sure they'd be in the top 5. But since it's purple and it's not really my favorite color, I'm ranking them a little bit lower. Okay, in 7th place is another purple palette. This is the Meant to Be palette from SugarDrizzle. Very cute palette. There's 5 special shades in here and then 1 matte. Again, it's a beautiful palette. I would have probably ranked it a little bit higher. This one is suffering from needing like another matte, maybe, although if you have the mattes palette, this would be the perfect palette to pair with. I think I did that actually in my video. So yeah, it's really, really pretty, really nice metallic shadows in here if you're into those like special shadows. Okay, in 6th place, this is a little cutie from an indie brand. This is the Bard palette from Fantasy Cosmetica. This is their newest launch, and I think this is a wonderful fall palette. If you don't want a big old 20-30 pan palette, then you might want to check this one out. I have a video with this and I swatched everything, and it's very, very nice and very, very pigmented. Okay, in 5th place, I mean, I feel like this one deserves 5th place just for the packaging alone. This is the All Hallows Eve palette from Colourpop and Disney Hocus Pocus. Look at this. So cute. I never save the boxes for things, but this one, I mean, the packaging alone is so, so cute. I think this is my favorite Hocus Pocus palette from Colourpop and Disney. It's so, so cute. I love the colorful matte shades, and yeah, it's really, really nice. I think that they really went outside of the box with this, because I don't know that a lot of everyday folks that'll see this in like their Ulta store or wherever they sell these will be like, oh yeah, that's gonna be such an everyday palette for me. So I feel like Colourpop really took a risk with all the fun, colorful shades they included in here, but that makes my little heart so happy. Okay, in 4th place, I picked a basic B palette, but I had to. This is the Natasha Denona My Dreams palette. This, I feel like, is the palette I would buy if I was starting my Natasha Denona collection today. Of course, I've been collecting her palettes for a long, long time, so I do have all of her midi palettes, and I think that this one is just a little bit more deep and dark and seductive compared to like one of my favorites, which is the Bronze palette. I'm not a big fan of the Glam palette. I know a lot of people love that one, but for me, I think this is like the perfect smoky but warm tone palette, and it also has some just gorgeous neutrals. So I'm really into this. It's giving me all the fall vibes. It also has a gorgeous multi-chrome in it. Let me just give you guys a swatch because I haven't swatched anything so far. I'm trying to like get through this palette video fast, but this multi-chrome is so, so pretty. I think this is the first multi-chrome we've seen in a midi palette from Natasha, so I'm totally here for it. Highly recommend picking it up during the Sephora sale if you guys have been eyeing that palette. Okay, in 3rd place, I had to give it to the Halloween palette by Betty Jean and Shroud Cosmetics. I want to give Shroud Cosmetics and Betty Jean such a huge shout out for kind of learning from their last launch. I feel like that would be so tough for a creator, for a brand to launch something and then they, I think, just had a hard time keeping up with inventory and things like that. And I think they just made it so much better this time, and I think they deserve props. There's also 2 beautiful multi-chromes in the palette, and this is just perfectly designed. She made it so complementary to the first palette, but then also this palette can really hold its own. I know you guys will agree with me that all of the indie brands just did such a good job with Halloween this year. They really, really set the bar so, so high. I feel like back in the day on YouTube and like just in the beauty community in general, the only brand that really did Halloween was Melt, and now these brands are like, I don't know, they just like mic dropped on Melt because I feel like I already said it, but I was just so disappointed in the Milk launch this year. Anyway, in second place, listen. You guys are going to be just as shocked as I am because I honestly think this is kind of a basic bitch palette, but I love this Nomad Cosmetics and Hudson Valley palette. It's just like fall in a palette. Like, I don't know. My husband wants to go look at fall leaves and I'm like, they're right here. It's right here. The fall leaves are right here. So it's very much like, I don't know. I feel like it could be like a sunset palette, you know. Sunset palettes were so big for a while. I don't remember what year, but maybe like 2016 YouTube when like Natasha Denona sunset palette, the Cute AF palette from Colourpop dropped and everyone's like, oh my god, sunset eyes. And I just like that they put a spin on it with the fall leaves vibe. And yeah, I just really like this palette. I really enjoyed this color story. So yeah, this is in second place. Okay, any guesses about the number one spot? Oh my gosh. I had to give it to Gourmand Girls and Doodles by the Money and their Spook palette. This one blew me away, you guys. I have mentioned a few times when I first tried Gourmand Girls, I was not a big fan of the formula and I felt so bad because I really thought that the customer service and the owner was so sweet. And I'm just so happy that she, you know, gave me another chance with the brand and let me try a new formula from them. And I'm so happy. And I just have to give brands credit where credit is due. And being able to take your customers' feedback, tweak things, make them better is a huge thing. This palette is so lovely. I really had very high expectations when I saw the color story being sneak peeked and then it arrived and it's just beautiful. It has those really nice, soft, metallic shades that you guys know I love because I love a nice, creamy, opaque formula. This packaging is cute. The color story is nice. Perfect Halloween themed palette. And I like the size. I like how many eyeshadows they included. I think all of that really goes into planning an eyeshadow palette. Sometimes I like to think about what I would do if I had to create an eyeshadow palette, and it's a little bit scary because, you know, you really have to make sure the shades work together, that it's not just a one-note palette, that you can create multiple looks with a palette. So yeah, it's a lot of work that goes into palette creation, at least from my perspective. So yeah, I was just very pleasantly surprised with that palette and a lot of the palettes that I talked about in today's video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this ranking. Like I said, they're always really tough for me to do, and I try to do the best I can. So if you don't agree with me, that's fine. This is just my personal opinion. So if you thought my number 16 was the best palette of the year, then more power to you. Let me know, what was your favorite palette that you tried in the month of September? Is it a new palette? Is it something that you rediscovered in your collection? You guys know I love chatting to you in the comment section, so I will catch you there. And I will see you in a new video very soon. Bye, guys.